Welcome to We Married the Family podcast series, where I explore the realities of living with in-laws and in-law relationships. I'm Dr. Nadia, a counselling psychologist, and in today's episode we're exploring a topic that many people are aware of, but that still remains shrouded in silence: the mistreatment of daughters-in-law, but specifically within unhealthy family hierarchies. We'll look at why and how unhealthy family hierarchies contribute to mistreatment of daughter-in-laws and contribute to increased risk of mistreatment. If you're affected by anything that's discussed in this episode, you can join my daughter-in-law membership group. Information for that is in the description below, or you can seek one-to-one support with myself or another therapist. A family hierarchy basically means there is an established order of power and authority in the family, who makes the decisions and who follows those decisions. We can see this, in parent-child relationships, because obviously the parents are bigger than the children, and the parents hold more authority in the family than the child, because they create the foundation for family life. They provide the safety and the security for the child, as well as teaching them and guiding them. In a healthy family system, as the child grows older and becomes an adult, the parent-child relationship changes and the distribution of power changes with it. This is an example of a healthy generational hierarchy. It defines the family structure and people know where they are in relation to one another, and it's open to change. But in this episode, I'm focusing on unhealthy family hierarchies within a multi-generational household where value is attributed to other adult members based on their gender and position in the family. In families where people's value is based on some uncontrollable attributes like age, gender, and family status or wealth, some are positioned lower than others and are more at risk of mistreatment because their position is lower and it affords them less power than those who are higher up in the hierarchy. We'll start with generational hierarchies. Usually in racial majority cultures, the issue lies in the traditional hierarchy of the family, where power is unevenly distributed and often held in the hands of the older generation. Typically, this is the matriarch or the patriarch. It could be a grandmother or a grandfather, a mother or a father. From the perspective of the daughter-in-law, this would be the mother-in-law or father-in-law. And the difficulties arise when this figure hasn't created healthy lines of communication with others, or they haven't been able to respect others' autonomy over their own lives and instead abuse the power that they have. We do have some cultural and religious teachings that get misconstrued in our communities, where there's a very rigid emphasis on blindly following the elders or obeying the elders. The power they have then is heightened because there's an unhealthy obedience, and usually this type of obedience is out of fear. Parents are one of the most important relationships in our life. We do maintain honour and respect for them, but it shouldn't come at the cost of harm to someone else. Doing things for your parents or in-laws out of fear is very different to doing things for your parents or in-laws out of respect and love. When it's the former, within this rigid hierarchical system, individuals can find it incredibly difficult to make their own decisions. Unhealthy hierarchy in a system is commonly found along gender differences as well, especially in patriarchal cultures where males are given more value and power than females. Obviously, this occurs across cultures and societies. It is very predominant in the South Asian culture. It could look like age differences as well, caste differences, employment differences. It's sad to say that these things, they're not outdated. For example, like a daughter-in-law who's from a different quote-unquote lower caste, or one who has darker skin, is often judged negatively than one who is from a better caste or one who has lighter skin. This is ridiculous to be talking about in 2024, but colorism and racism is very much alive within our culture, and anyone doing work on cultural change, which should be all of us, by the way, will encounter these biases and prejudices until the culture changes. When a daughter-in-law enters a family system that is rigidly hierarchical, her position is usually towards the bottom. Not only would any of those value-based judgments be at play, like her gender, her appearance, her family status, but group dynamics is also a huge factor here. As a newcomer, someone who's from outside the family, she will be seen as an outsider. She's entering a new system which already has an established set of rules, an established hierarchy. There's a lot that's at play here, which I'll leave for another episode. But as an outsider, she might not fully be welcomed and accepted. The power imbalance can be seen in a lot of different ways. She might be expected to prove her worth, be expected to conform to norms and expectations that are already established instead of being able to make her own decisions. She might have little say in any of the family matters. She might be criticised for the choices she does make. In some cases, there's a very overt control over her actions and choices, even in her relationship with her spouse. You might think, while she is entering a new family that already has a shared history, that already has a shared bond, so why would she be so closely included in family matters, for example? But if you have a daughter-in-law who is living with that family, how can you bring somebody in but still cast them out? The daughter-in-law's position will also depend on her husband's internalization of his family rules and expectations. So if there's an unspoken rule that a daughter-in-law prioritizes the needs of her new family above her own, that she should sacrifice her independence and follow whatever her in-laws say, and her husband agrees that, my wife should prioritize my family and sacrifice herself and follow whatever they say, that's going to work against her and maintain her position at the bottom. She'll be under pressure to meet unrealistic and unfair expectations, not only from her in-laws, but now also from her husband. And when she doesn't meet these expectations, mistreatment can follow, whether that's emotional manipulation, exclusion, or abuse. Daughters-in-law who were previously very independent in their lives can even become powerless in situations like this. So if you feel that you've become powerless after getting married, I want to reassure you that it's not a you problem, it's a systemic problem. This is where it's very important for a man to know what his family expects of his wife and know his own expectations before marriage. And not just to know them, but to correct them too. And if he can't influence his parents' unrealistic standards, then at least not hold those standards for himself. And make sure that he supports his wife to have power and autonomy over her own life. I mean, it sounds very basic, but this is a massive challenge in many households because unhealthy hierarchies really thrive on gender norms. Hopefully, so far this is shedding some light on your experiences, but to give you some more clarity, I want to share how you can tell if you are at the bottom of the family hierarchy. As a daughter-in-law in a system that puts you at the bottom, you might find yourself being excluded from conversations, from decisions and events. Maybe you're the last to find out about things, maybe you hear whispers about something that's happened, but nobody actually talks to you about it. People might have conversations over you even when you're sitting right next to them. It is really painful stuff when you're in this position. You have to remember that this family already had a way of operating, so by you joining later on, the family system might have difficulty adjusting, particularly if they have unhealthy dynamics and are operating rigidly, not being able to open to change in the system, the change being you coming into the system. Because this hierarchical system consists of an unhealthy balance of power, as a daughter-in-law, you'll also feel quite small in the family, with others appearing or clearly showing arrogance and superiority. You'll notice that it's about the parents' needs and the in-laws' needs rather than the children's needs or the needs of the new couple or your needs as a new member of the family, as a daughter-in-law, as a new wife. You might notice as well that there's a withholding of love and warmth. You might see that other members of the family are treated differently to you. If there are other daughters in the family, as the daughter-in-law, you'll see that, they're favoured, given unconditional love, whereas love towards you feels like it's based on your behaviour. You might feel like you are liked according to what you do for the family, how much you listen to them, how much you follow them and agree with them, rather than being loved and accepted for who you are. Because the daughter-in-law is an outsider who's already likely to be at the bottom of the hierarchy, her mistreatment can also be the result of unresolved conflict within the family that she's now entering into. So the issue is not that people don't see your value, but because you are new, you become an easy target or a scapegoat for the family's already existing conflicts. This is something that we call projection. And we all project our own issues onto others from time to time. It's an unconscious process. An easy way to understand it is like a projector that gives out an image of a photo or a movie onto a wall. So there could be pre-existing generational tensions. It could be, financial, economic stress. There might be a fear of losing the family unit or losing the son. But if these issues aren't addressed within the individual or the family, then they can get projected onto the new family member, who becomes the scapegoat for the family issues. It's a heavy thing to carry. I guess I could say, if you want to see how much unresolved issues a family has, look at how they treat the daughter-in-law. But we might save this for another episode because, it's a big thing to unpack, and there are two sides to it as well. So coming back to the hierarchy and your position within it. So to know where you are in this hierarchy, also think about whether you have autonomy or not. Like, do you make your own decisions? Are decisions made for you? And who makes those decisions for you? It could be, about the simplest everyday type of things, like the time that you wake up, what you wear, when or where you go out. Notice, when you share your opinions and views, are they acknowledged and respected, or are they ignored and criticized? A lot of the times, daughter-in-laws will stop sharing parts of themselves because they've not felt respected or heard, or they've had some sort of negativity or backlash for just being themselves. It makes a huge impact on a person's confidence and self-esteem. A couple of things that are important to note. One, that as a daughter-in-law, you might have your own blocks that are keeping you in an outsider position. There might be things that are within yourself that are preventing you from being seen for who you are. If you have issues with self-esteem already, you might keep yourself small, which reinforces others not seeing you or being able to respect your needs because you don't show them or tell them about you. It's a bit of a cycle like that. So on the back of this, I would also suggest that as a daughter-in-law, be careful that you're not unfairly judging and labelling your in-laws because of your own unresolved inner issues, because you could also be projecting onto them. In a hierarchical family system, it is very possible to still live your life. It will be challenging, but it is possible. You have to know your own value and worth, maintain a good level of self-esteem. You need to have connections and social support around you that also sees your worth and values you. So maintain your friendships or create new friendships. See your own siblings and your own parents. You can also work on your relationship with your partner and agree on your own marital expectations based on the things that both of you value. Because if you two are on the same page, that's often enough strength and support to assist you in living your life with more autonomy, even if you are living with in-laws or close to in-laws. It's important to recognize the dangers of rigid hierarchies and work towards creating a more level playing field where all members of the family are included and valued and respected. Ideally, we would like there to be open and healthy communication amongst families so that these cycles can be broken. This is possible. It starts with small changes with all of us. If you found this episode insightful and helpful, please share it with others who might benefit. When we address unspoken things like we've done today, we're challenging cultural norms that maintain unhealthy dynamics. We want to encourage mutual respect, empathy, and understanding within families. When we do this, then we can create positive shifts for all family members, including daughters-in-law.